I am Abhika Nimakhayala, VP of Engineering at TeamSense. Little bit about TeamSense. We are the only text-first, friction-free, fully automated absence reporting system, tailor-made, purpose-built for manufacturing and logistics industries. Now, those two are very interesting and unique sectors, and the workforce, deskless or frontline workers, do not necessarily come to a desktop or a workstation to handle absenteeism or call-offs and call-ons, but everybody knows how to do a text, right? That is pretty much something that we do day in and day out. So the solution that we offer is frictionless way for the frontline workers to report if something in the life hits them hard and they need to deal with issues and what have you. It also helps the other counterparts in our customer industry, which is like the HRIS systems and HR leads and admins. If you think about automotive or airline or shipping vegetables, everything that we do hold, touch and feel is actually comes out of manufacturing, including the laptops and electronic devices. Like, I don't think in the clothes that we wear, everything goes through like manufacturing. So it's interesting how much in our daily life the industry has a role to play, but how little we kind of recognize it. It's kind of an interesting dichotomy. Compliance and regulation are really key within manufacturing, because many industries actually have imposed specific regulations that the manufacturer has to adhere to, and to prove that they have upheld, they can produce certain goods, in staying in compliance with like either government or industry third-party bodies. So it's actually very critical for manufacturing companies to prove that they can and sustain production, which is not true in other areas that we see. So yeah, compliance and regulation plays a very key role. Within TeamSense for workforce identity, we use Google pretty much. But when it comes to SIAM, customer identity, we were in an interesting position where we need to choose a solution that not only works for TeamSense to say, yes, we have a very well vetted SIAM solution to manage identity, but we're also dealing with customers who themselves have a really strong security posture, or some customers that do not necessarily have security posture, but looking to us to enable that front door guardrails for them. So there is that curve of maturity level on both aspects. So as a provider, and we are a security first oriented company, we take security very seriously, and making sure that we choose right identity management solution was a no-brainer that would fit for both customer use cases, for both maturity levels. Manufacturing has its own unique needs. There are some parallels that you can see from typical software company to manufacturing, like ERP systems, right? But if you take a step back, manufacturing also has very unique system tools and applications, like manufacturing execution on the floor might have a very unique operational tools and applications that they're managing. And then there are lifecycle management tools that they need. And then product lifecycle management that probably not sitting at the assembly floor, but with someone else that's running the business unit. It's really interesting walking through a manufacturing assembly line in a big entity. Production of a particular product can be its own company within the company. So it's really cool and unique to see how the manufacturing companies operate compared to rest of the, typically like we are we are from software, so we know how things work. So the key needs that drive to have proper access management and identity management solution, streamlining access to this multitude of applications is fundamental to ensuring productivity, efficiency, and removing the fatigue, right? Because as we all know, we have been talking about passwordless for a while now in the tech industry, but we have not embraced it. There is still a lot more apprehension about how safe it is, how secure it is. Is every customer is going to be adopting it? So there is still passwords play quite a big role in our once we open our machines or laptops or what have you. So managing all the your credentials, employee credentials to multitude of systems, centralizing user management, and you have both full-time employees. A lot of the frontline workers are seasonal in depending on the industry. So managing the user management is incredibly not only critical but needs creative solution to make sure that security and policies, IT governance are not compromised while making sure business is running smoothly, right? And core thing for manufacturing again is compliance and regulation. The certifications that they go through, similar to software companies, like when we apply for SOC 2 validations and what have you, those audits and evidence gathering is very critical to say, hey, we know how to do this business and we are serious about maintaining this governance and security. Same thing goes for manufacturing. And in order to do their own certification validations, they need the tech side levers in place and well established. So access management is actually one of those key levers. If you distill all of this, there are ton of things that will become a checklist from a security management and governance perspective. But solely from risk reduction and productivity and efficiency perspective, knowing who is logging into your system and that, authenticating that is the right person and they are accessing right roles and right applications at right level, all of those things become such a headache for IT if they don't have right solution, right? So grouping all of the things that I've just said, those are, I think, some of the key driving needs from manufacturing industry when you are talking in terms of access management and identity management. Talking in terms of our journey on how we chose our identity management, especially SIAM identity management provider. Little bit background about myself. Before joining TeamSense, I was at Okta. I was a senior director of engineering, part of the Workforce Identity Cloud, part of the Okta Identity Engine, OIE, as it's known in the industry. So I'm very intimately familiar with both the workforce identity management and also SIAM solutions. So fast forward at TeamSense, when we knew that we need to provide a SAML SSO based application, a SIAM identity solution for our customers, especially enterprise security customers. Obviously, there was some grumblings within the team that, hey, are you going to choose Okta? But engineering leaders, we have our affinities to certain things, but at the same time, you need to have a criteria and vet the available solutions, and actually figure out if there is an alignment with the needs and use cases that you are trying to solve. So that was literally how our journey started, right? We ran a POC, same variables, same POC experiment across 3 different providers. Auth0, Okta's offering, was one of the equation within our POC experiment. So the layers that we had was federation, interoperability for SAML app, Ease of configuration is another thing that I wanted to focus on. But as an engineering leader for my organization, I wanted to start looking at current capabilities of each of the providers that we chose for our POC, and then figure out alignment of those capabilities to our customer needs. Both, not necessarily, like, we spoke to few customers at that point and we knew what their IT was doing in terms of SSO and identity solutions, and some of the customers did not have an SSO and what they wanted to see. So we have data, so to speak, from our customers, but at the same time, I also wanted to make sure that we are not cornering ourselves into a solution just with the data set. So we took a step back and figured out, for manufacturing customers, what are the predominant use cases. So we went and mapped those use cases, alignment mapping to capabilities, right? And one interesting thing with anything, to that matter, specifically for security, you want to vet how closely the provider is keeping up to standards with emerging industry use cases, exploits, vulnerabilities, how quickly are they patching, how keyed in they are into industry level research. So that, because it's actually speaks a lot about long-term product roadmap evolution. So that's another thing we had in our POC criteria. I own both the delivery and also I own P&L for my organization. So price tag was another key variable in my POC criteria. Beyond these things, looking at support, how quickly do we get customer support response, how well written the documentation, do they have professional services kind of structure where if a specific customer has unique needs, how quickly can we get some help from the identity provider without shelling out a lot of money. So that's essentially the set of that essentially was the set that drove the experiment. And as a result, vetting all the results, we went with OneLogin because OneLogin solution met a lot of our needs. But also, we have noticed few of our customers are already on OneLogin as well, which spoke to adoption within the industry. And again, our sample set was small, but it added to the confidence of the results we have seen from the POC. With regards to how we deployed OneLogin in our organization, MFA was a no-brainer for us because who you are, who you say you are, and you possess something that we can recognize. And most of our user base, like the end users, have little bit of tiering, so to speak. So MFA was a no-brainer for us to include. So that works really well for us. Now, other features that we needed, and OneLogin offers multitude of features, and not necessarily everything is super applicable, even though they are cool. So to our use case, so we went with selective import because we don't necessarily, for our use case specifically, we don't necessarily need the entire employee user base to be imported. There are certain titles and positions within the HR organization that would definitely need to be imported. And after that, it's actually selective import between what our customers and we agree as part of our product offering and what they purchased from TeamSense. So based on those, we chose the features that would meet most of our customer needs. Now down the road, if someone comes and says, we would like you to manage like entire identity lifecycle, then that's going to be a conversation between TeamSense and that customer. So far, we have not had that conversation yet, but I the one of the reasons why we chose OneLogin was to be able to say these are the features that are already available on the platform. So if the door ever opens, we don't necessarily need to do re-engineering or reinventing the wheel. We can actually just go enable a feature on the fly. One thing that I wanted to avoid right from the get-go is um, um, I didn't want gatekeepers. Like, I want the system to be able to give me audit lens and ease of setup and configuration, extremely like streamlined with regards to onboarding. So I'm not spending my engineer cycles on troubleshooting or onboarding. So from what we have seen so far, we actually had to make a change on our side to integrate the way we have written our own authentication and authorization. A small change, but beyond that, we did not have to do a ton of hoops to adopt to the solution. So the benefits that we have seen in terms of onboarding to OneLogin is ease of setup and configuration was incredibly smooth. Just setting the POC itself like took very little time compared to a few of the contenders we had in that bucket. Audit Lens is something that I really like, and I think any IT provider that is in contract with us and have SSO enabled would like that as well, because they can just get a sense of role-based access grants, least privilege, like principles that are fundamental for security and access to applications and to a specific role within an application. The audit lens helps really well. And streamlining with regards to onboarding, uh, we did not have to call anybody on OneLogin to actually onboard. We had calls regarding some of the customization that we needed to do, but with regards to onboarding, it was fairly hands off for us, which worked really well because even from manufacturing IT team's perspective, they maintain really complex ecosystems. Being able to say you can plug in and these are the blocks like data input that we need, that takes away a ton of friction from the conversation. SSO slash identity management was actually most asked feature from any of the enterprise customer conversations we were having. And TeamSense is growing, growing with all sizes and scales of customers, right? Not only small but medium enterprise. Like, we have several named brand customers in our wheelhouse, and we feel super fortunate to have that well-liked emotional engagement with our customers. We take pride in that. So when we hear that, do you guys have SSO? Question whether they want to make sure that the provider has an SSO, or I don't want to do this. Do you have this? When I'm buying your service, I just can have some peace of mind. So it answered in terms of impact to TeamSense. It answered a most asked engineering slash IT security governance question in our roadmap. So that was the first impact, I would say. The second thing, as soon as you have a SIAM identity solution, you can immediately gauge the risk reduction, and essentially you shut one door for possible exploits, and you actually gave yourself a little bit more confidence on ensuring policies. Again, it comes down to how you define policies and whether or not you are adding certain restrictions. It comes down to how IT rolls out those levers, but it gives you that additional confidence to say you have this door that can be used to enforce and sustain compliance and governance, right? You like once you know a particular, like especially in manufacturing where we have seen seasonal employees and rifts or reorgs or what have you, any industry goes through, managing user management and streamlining that user management is like a huge impact. And taking that, making that streamlined actually makes us look good to our customers. So that's the second impact. Implementation and speed. As a startup, uh, time is incredibly valuable to us, and where we spend our time is incredibly valuable to us, because our stakeholders are our investors, and our stakeholders are our customers, and our stakeholders are our own team. So any tool that we choose, if we are working for the tool, then we made a bad decision, right? Period. So the implementation speed and maintenance is another impact. Like, it's fairly hands-off solution, which I like from impact perspective. So impact and benefits can be drawn from there as well. So when there are always, like, from an engineering perspective and product roadmap delivery perspective, anyone who has ever shipped something to production knows that we have there is science of engineering and then the art of trade-offs. So those of you that have shipped things know how interesting the trade-off conversations can be. And from engineering perspective, as a small startup engineering organization leader, I am meticulous about where my team's time goes. And we want to be investing in platform. And current day, we are heavily invested in building AI, agentic AI, and multi-agent workflows. So the real estate in my engineers' brains, I would like to reserve that towards those investments, because end of the day, those are the things that not only strengthen what TeamSense is revolutionizing in manufacturing industry, specifically for absentee management, but at the same time, this is how we can add value to our customers at the time they need, not tomorrow, right? So I have to be very particular and somewhat selfish about where my engineering team's time goes. And that includes IT as well, right? So choosing and implementing the SSO solution and SIAM identity solution helped us. We did not spend, multiple quarters, nothing like that. It was a very well thought out, carved out, time boxed investment, and we did ton of research. We did POC, actually had use cases that would have become the final solution. So our POC itself was very well thought out. That allowed us to not touch the critical resources and critical roadmap items. So we continue to invest in the areas that we need to invest and strengthen. So there was a little bit of trade-off conversation, but I think how streamlined OneLogin adoption was allowed us to keep that time-boxed effort stay within the time box, and allowed us to continue with our prioritized deliverables. So if I were to offer input, insight, recommendation, or my suggestion to a peer of mine within the industry, software industry, about OneLogin, I would say this. This should come as no surprise, but match your requirements to both business and monetary requirements, but also long-term roadmap evolution. You're playing the long game, which means your vendors also, the vendors you choose also should be playing the long game, so that it doesn't, any changes do not become gotcha surprises that you have to deal with and spend engineering resources or product resources on. So these are no-brainers. But from my experience and my team's experience, I would suggest the lifecycle management is just no-brainer requirement for identity management. So setup, administration, and maintenance of your user lifecycle management. I think that would be one thing I would recommend in favor of OneLogin. Risk reduction. The whole point that we want to have an identity and access management solution is to make sure that the policies and access to applications is actually governed, and that you have confidence that there is no misuse or malevolent access. So, risk reduction, which keeps all of us engineering leaders up at night, that would be another reason why I would say go vet OneLogin and assess for if you're choosing an access management solution. The the other thing, this is specific to industry that TeamSense serves. We serve manufacturing and warehouse logistics. So our customers could have requirements that may or may not be ready for off-the-shelf configurations that we have deployed right now for both MFA and Active Directory selective imports. So the risk customization with like professional services is another thing that I used as a lever for long-term partnership with OneLogin, right? So if that jives with your requirements and needs, consider that aspect also. I did work with professional services team at OneLogin as part of our rollout, and those guys were incredibly helpful.